Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the UK League Championship. Now, we just saw Envision pretty wholeheartedly dispatch Demise in our last game, and now we're going to be moving on to our third seed team, Fnatic Rising. They'll be going on versus the sixth seed team, MnM Gaming. Now, MnM in the last split were the Academy challengers. They always went up versus these LEC sister teams and went toe-to-toe with them, or at least were ahead of the rest of the pack. This time, that situation's not quite there for them. They're a little bit weaker, but then we also look at Fnatic, and they're not quite hitting the same mark in previous splits that they were hitting. At the moment, BTXL and Barrage are ahead of them in the standings, and Barrage are looking pretty convincing. So Fnatic really have to kind of get their act together now.
Fnatic against weaker teams has just looked dominant, but against the teams above them has looked rough. Yeah. Against Barrage, they got manhandled. Against XL, they got manhandled. But everyone else has looked pretty one-sided. So that's the big thing here, is expectations are that against MnM, it's going to be one-sided once more, but they've shown vulnerabilities. It's just they're hard to exploit. So if MnM come in this, they've prepared, they know where they're going to be looking. I think big factors are Dan's champion pool has looked a bit off. Obviously, we saw the Sejuani.
It's a Dan thing,
the Sejuani worked, Fiddlesticks not so much. So plenty of ban towards the Sejuani. I think MagiFelix, when he's been challenged in mid lane, has looked not good at all. Yeah. We saw the Vladimir up against the Syndra of Special, wasn't good. Ericsson playing the LeBlanc into him on Rise, again, not good. And that's not purely down to him because it's not isolated 1v1, but it's a way that they can definitely exploit Fnatic Rising. And I think as well in the top lane, Pride, not the most consistent. I think overall there's definitely vulnerabilities with this Fnatic Rising roster. I just feel like it's a stretch to ask MnM to challenge them. And a lot of it's going to come down to draft, so hopefully we're going to see them put them to the test.
Okay, so as we head into draft, who are we looking at on MnM? Who's the person who we think can crack open this team and get their way a win over Fnatic Rising? Who on MnM is the carry?
So I think for me, the standard answer would be Mummus in terms of discrepancy, in terms of roles. But I think the difficulty is that top isn't always the most influential role in the moment. I think if you're going to challenge somewhere, look mid, put Dan on a weak jungler in the early game, like the Fiddlesticks, even the Sejuani, if you can apply pressure like XL did. Put Soft Chimera in a good matchup. And then we've seen them consistently try and apply that early pressure. They just haven't really found the momentum against the stronger lineups. But hopefully this could be the game. And if they can force Dan on the back foot, he can't assist his bot lane. If they can put MagiFelix behind, they can start to expand that control over the whole map. So I think for MnM, it's target that mid jungle and then try and just apply pressure elsewhere. I think Pride, I mean, Maddie and Bravado have had some good moments in the 2v2, but for the most part, if you have mid jungle control, they aren't going to be able to find too much. And I think Pride, even the 1v1, Mummus can hold him. So I think it's just mid jungle. Look towards there, and it's going to come down to how they draft. Karthus, I like the Karthus ban. I could very much see an Ornn first pick come in. It does anyway, but the Karthus isn't an option to work with that in tandem.
We've also seen that Soraka ban away, which is so nice. We have to deal with that. Next week is the 10.4 patch, so that's when we'll finally see the death of Sona and Soraka top lane, as they are just frankly unfun. They're so oppressive. Now, MnM, where are they looking to pick up here? The Ornn's been taken away. They go for the Misfortune, opting in for a little bit of team fighting. Maybe they want to layer something like the Jarvan on top of that as well. Give himself a good jungler. Pairs up well with that.
It's interesting to see that much priority on the Misfortune when Aphelios is still open. So often when Aphelios has been banned with Senna low in priority, Misfortune pops up as the pick, but Aphelios is open. Senna has started to make a comeback now that he can play her in the support role. We saw that obviously last game. So far, they're going to go for the Misfortune and the Mordekaiser. So Mordekaiser can flex to follow the Ornn, but it's obviously not as good in the mid lane in a shorter lane and applying pressure to the Ornn, because even if you ult him, he can just walk to his tower as long as he doesn't step too far out of it.
Don't worry, we're probably not going to see the Fiddlesticks jungle again from Dan. It was not really finding its mark at all there for Fnatic Rising, as they are switching out, going to the Sejuani, what we pretty much expected from them, and already they've got a very tanky front line.
I am shocked that we're going to see Dan and the Sejuani. I am flabbergasted, but I'll control it. I can accept the surprise. Dan playing that same champion again.
Alrighty, well, Fnatic now looking to round out with maybe an AD carry. They do get hands onto the Aphelios. Don't want to get it banned away in the next phase. Xmadi has liked this pick quite a lot, so makes sense.
And it's pretty good, is what it's pretty good as a
when you got
champion.
a good front line like that as well.
Yeah, Fnatic Rising, it's looking like pretty solid so far. They have a flex solo laner in the Ornn, so it's really hard to really threaten with that Mordekaiser. I think it was an early pick for the Mordekaiser in that rotation. And then the Zac comes in.
Good to see it go support. Good to see it go into the jungle, potentially.
True. Shout out to Shogun. The Zac support could come out. He's been playing a ton of it recently.
I saw his game earlier with you, man, and it was...
Yeah, that was jungle diff. That was jungle diff. Anyway.
Yeah, you were 0-4, but yeah.
Could be flexed. Exactly jungle difference. Jungle's the most important role. Everyone knows jungle's the most important role. And if you think otherwise, you're a jungler.
Just to get this clear, I'm not a jungler, and Orcs and Shogun have died like 7 or 8 times as a lane.
We got dived like 3 times in a row. That's all I'm saying.
Anyway,
this is really going on a tangent. So we see the Zac come in. There's very much a lot of picks that can sort of mitigate what the Zac can do. Thresh, Janna, big ones that can sort of stop him from ever making those engages. Fnatic actually banned away the Thresh themselves. Interesting to me, because I guess matchup-wise it's strong, but
yeah,
that would be a nice pick for Bravado. I'll just say.
I think maybe they're scared that MnM first pick it, and then suddenly that pick potential starts to kind of fly away on the likes of Mummus. On the likes of a Chu, because you can slam it away.
I mean, to be honest, like Thresh isn't even that good with. I mean, it's okay because when Zac jumps in, you can pull him out, but
yeah,
you can't really you pull Zac into the lane, and then he has to start charging his slingshots. So it's not the best combo. They do ban away the Janna. I mean, that's the thing is that MnM were probably like, okay, what's good against the Zac? Thresh, Janna, Morgana, and then they ban one of them. So kind of helping them out in that regard to a degree. Although we'll hope Fnatic Rising have another plan. Braum is terrible in the Zac. That's one of the worst because you do nothing against him.
Well, they banned it just so they don't have the option to pick it themselves. But also, it'd be quite nice for MnM.
It's not good. But yeah, I mean, MnM could take it themselves to deny the Ornn engage. So I think that's a fine ban, the Braum, because there's no real situation where Fnatic are going to take it against the Zac. And obviously, it means that you have the free engage from the Ornn. Now, MnM, you expect the support here so they can leave their counter pick for the mid or top lane, depending on where that Mordekaiser is going. And they're going to go for the Trundle. I mean, this could again be a Trundle jungle Zac support. It could go either way. A lot of flexes. I
think this is going to be soft Trundle, and I think it's Fias on the Zac now. Fnatic, what do they want to pick up? Because the picks you were talking about that are good into the Zac have been all banned away. So what are they looking for? What's been left open as far as supports go here? Also looking for a mid laner, most likely. He's going to do it. Yeah, he's going to do it.
Bravado, just go the Taric, go the pocket pick. When all these supports are banned away, just go for something you're familiar with. It means there's a ton of scaling. I would like another carry for Fnatic Rising to come out. And potentially they could go Cassiopeia and flex that, because that'd be a good matchup into the Mordekaiser. So they could flex and put the Ornn away from the Mordekaiser and put the Cassiopeia into it. But instead, it looks like they're just going to end up going for the Gangplank. So they are going for that Mordekaiser mid. Gangplank fine. Sorry, the Ornn mid. Gangplank fine into the Mordekaiser. My question is going to be, is MnM going to flex it and then put a good matchup top? You could take the Lucian here. You could take Lucian and Gangplank. That's a good matchup. Mummus could run away with that one. And then you have your sort of win condition to play around.
Well, looking to figure out what they want to pick up here. Okay, so they're looking the Cassiopeia.
They favor the middle matchup instead. They're going to put the Cassiopeia up against the Ornn, something that does have the sustained damage to cut through it. Although ultimately in the early levels, Ornn has priority and can actually outtrade you, but it's hard to get on top. Yeah, and we're going to see whether it's jungle Zac and support Trundle, because you're assuming it's a support Zac, but that may not be the case. You still get the power of the ultimate is the big thing.
Maybe they changed their mind when the Taric came through.
That's how flex picks work.
Yeah, I like that.
You can change your mind at any point. Although, to be honest, I don't think Zac does a ton specifically against Zac. Although I guess you can easily with the pillar disengage the Taric stun. But that is going to be where it's settled because it's past 20 seconds. So this is the state of the compositions. I think Fnatic Rising, they have a lot of beef in their composition and not just Sejuani's boar. They have like a ton of bulkiness. And then they have these 2 scaling carries who really have to do a lot of the legwork. Might get tricky in the later stages if a lot of armor's built up, but even then the base damages from champions like Ornn are significant, and he has percentage HP shred. On the other side, it's really coming down to, I I think just how they play the team fights. If Soft can find some momentum on the Zac, if he can get on top of Aphelios or Gangplank, that's the thing is if Maddie's unable to attack, if he's CC'd, then they don't really have much damage coming out from the team. It's only really Pride, and that's if he's grouped up with them. So I think there's definitely an avenue for MnM to find an advantage here. I just think that this is very potentially a game where Fnatic run away with it in the early levels, and then MnM will never really find their way back unless it goes to like 50 minutes.
MnM really need to run away with it here. They're currently in that 6th spot here in the standings in the UKLC. They're so close, but so far from that playoff spot. And they want to get their hands onto that. And beating out a team like Fnatic just as you end the first stage of the round robin is so, so big for them. Gives you a massive confidence boost going into phase 2, but it also just gives you that nice advantage as well if you ever find yourself in like a head-to-head kind of position. So we'll have to see whether or not they're going to be capable of doing that. But for now, it's going to be all about Fnatic kind of taking these big kind of team fights and playing around their mid-game spikes they've got available to them.
Yeah, I think as much as there's a ton of scaling champs on the side of Fnatic, I think the things that will limit them in the late stages is the fact that they only have 2 carries pumping out damage, and tanks fall off. When it gets super late game, and I know that's a weird term to say, but when it gets like 40 plus minutes and everyone's full build and everyone has a lot of penetration, tanks aren't actually that useful. And a team with more carries can sort of outmatch them. And if you think about in this situation, if Mummus can ult someone, I mean, they may have a QSS by the time we get to that point. But if Mummus can like ult X Maddie, then it's only really the tanks and Pride sort of doing anything in the team fight. Soft also can cause huge disruption. And then you have really strong late game carries in the Misfortune and the Cassiopeia.
Alrighty, well, we've taken to the Rift. Fnatic versus MnM. Going toe to toe. It's Fnatic looking to put another win on their board. Try and keep themselves as close to Barrage as possible and potentially look to overtake them in later on stages here in the UKLC. Pride and Dan actually going for potentially an invade into Soft's jungle. Mummus, Chimera are also about, just in case they decide to pull this off, so it could get a little risky for them. Mummus is going to bring the hammer down, does find them both out, but remember, you can stack up those passive stacks really quick here, and the permafrost is on. Mummus is already going low. He has to flash over the wall, and Pride's chasing in. Dan jumps away as Magic Felix is trying to get it back around, but that's going to be first blood picked up for the side of MnM, and Fnatic are sent packing.
Yeah, actually a bit overzealous there. So they saw Mummus, they start chasing him down. And although they can do a lot of damage if he's up close to them, the melee power of that trio on Fnatic Rising's top side, extremely powerful. They were unable to keep close to him. They were unable to keep putting their damage down. And ultimately, the turnaround is there from Chimera. Constantly putting out those Twin Fangs. Yes, a pretty solid play coming out from MnM to counteract that and get the advantage. And they have actually gone for the swap. So they didn't go for the Lucian, but they did go for the swap. They put the Mordekaiser up against the Ornn. This is a good matchup for Mordekaiser, even though in mid lane, not as much space to punish it. But Cassiopeia into the Gangplank is again a favorable matchup. Just because obviously Gangplank loves playing against melee champions where you can use the Trial by Fire. And you can just get traded on pretty heavily by the Cassiopeia. Although Chimera did lose that trade, that's kind of down to play.
It's also, once
barrel.
level 3 comes through, Chimera has this kind of full utility, so with a Miasma, it gets harder and harder to just walk into the face of Cassiopeia and get the Trial by Fire off.
Thank you very much, Observers. Switching it, so we have the matchup. So we can see the discrepancy.
I see him losing the Legacy Cursor there.
Flexing it, yeah. Why not? Yeah, so Chimera, he's up a kill. He's putting a lot of damage down on a Pride. Because he shoved the wave and he's actually able to go for a cheater recall here and spend that gold he's picked up. He's going to be in a pretty comfortable spot. A ward just died out there for Fnatic Rising, so they're aware of Soft's position, even though they aren't really able to do anything about it, but they could look for some pressure mid. So this is a short lane, so harder to potentially punish Mummus. They're going to look for it, and he has no flash.
Mummus trying to get this knock up. Permafrost stacks are going to stack up here. Mummus buys some time by going golden, has the healing from the Conqueror as well as Chimera comes in, tries to get that damage back down, but Magic Felix turns it back around. Magic Felix in the midst of minions, but with these permafrost stacks stacking up, they might just be able to find the damage they need. Chimera flashes away, Soft jumps in and saves the day! Chimera finds the kill and gets away.
That nearly looked so bad for MnM, but they managed to find it. Soft with the huge engage. Unfortunately, though, Chimera just came from base and TP'd, and he's now instantly chunked out again. So it does deny quite a lot of minions away from MnM. You can see that wave crashing into the tower top lane. So not all bad for Fnatic. And all in all, they traded 1 for 1 there. Then look for Sophia, and it's just something we've seen so much is Dan and Bravado paired up together, moving as a duo. And it's not quite as threatening as the Leona and the Sejuani, but still pretty powerful. And they're able to take that blue buff off Soph. It's not the biggest hit. Blue buff not really that important on a Zac. But you could see when he showed mid lane, when he showed he didn't have his blue buff, it was instantly a sign to Fnatic that they look to invade there and pressure that one off.
Oh, Flash actually looks to find Dan here, forces him to Arctic Assault over the wall.
Pings are coming out, actually.
They are collapsing in. Remember, it's on a very, very long cooldown here. Bravado,
like 10
sure
seconds.
that he's going to be able to get his way out. Now, the lane swap has been reinstated here. Mumus versus Magic Felix, although Magic Felix is maybe looking to move. Dan's actually just making his way over into the lane.
Bit of a CS discrepancy built out, and it's not much, but that's just from those skirmishes that came up earlier. For now, though, Fnatic holding up okay. Gold even, despite the fact that we have a kill favored MnM. I think bot lane, there is actually a pretty big CS gap as well. She actually backed off and bought the coal, so we'll pay off later, but Sophie's been found out again.
Yeah, such a rough go of it here, taking so much damage as he gets knocked up. Don't believe he has the ult. Yes, he does have Cell Division available to him, but Aphias is making his way forward. Mumus trying to buy time, letting his jungler live for as long as possible. Dan is not going to get the smite off as Magic Felix secures the kill, but now they have the ability to turn it around. Another hammer swing comes down, and the blast cone to make sure Magic Felix has nowhere to go. Mumus is looking for the kill. As one more tower shot is picked up, and Mumus finds himself that. MnM get himself a 2-kill lead on the game, and the gold lead now shrinking to 100 between them.
Great roam coming out from Aphias, though, just to move up there and mitigate all that. The passive from the Zac clutch in buying enough time. And then this is the power of the Mordekaiser in that situation. If you're up against 2 tanks who have to get in the range of Mordekaiser up close to him, he just shreds them. That percentage HP available from the passive already. This draft from MnM answered a lot of things that Fnatic had picked up. And they have found some momentum in the early game, which typically we don't see for a lot of teams up against Fnatic Rising.
Yeah, really smart play, actually, in the draft there, but also just smart play in the play style and the way that MnM are reading the map and answering everything Fnatic do. Now, Pride obviously hasn't been roaming around as much as Chimera has been, so Chimera is actually down in CS and down in levels. Pride looking to hold this wave as far away from Chimera as possible. Chimera finally hits that level 6 mark, but these plays may get a little bit more interesting now that Pride will have that cannon barrage available to him. So if any dives, any fights do go down, that numbers advantage may be alleviated a little bit by the fact that cannon barrage is available.
I think so. The area you have to be a little bit careful, especially since no TP available for Chimera as well, which does give a window for Fnatic to go for this dragon. They have consistently had priority in the bot lane, and a lot of that is from Aphias roaming, but when the cannon barrage available...
Miasma's been used, actually does throw himself down the queue. Pride's going to take pretty bad trade there. As now Magic Felix gets caught out by the pillar. They got a lot of damage to work with here. He's already ignited, getting the hammer down as well. Bellow's Breath's enough, but I don't think it's going to be enough as Mumus pulls him into the death realm, finds himself a kill. The Triumph and the shield will keep him alive underneath that. And Magic Felix having a really, really rough go of it. 3 deaths so far.
Power of the Mordekaiser, you can actually kill the Ornn. Not many champions can claim to do that in the mid lane. He's able to find the damage, finish him off, thanks to, again, another great roam from Aphias. And what I loved about that play top lane was that we talked about the cannon barrage being available. They go top, they force onto Pride, and the only reason Pride survives and gets away is because of the slow from the cannon barrage. So they force that cooldown, and it now gives them a bit more freedom on the rest of the map. However, Fnatic, they had priority bot lane, they picked up that dragon, they're switching to the other side of the map. Takes the control there.
Alrighty, well. 8 minutes on the clock. 300 gold separates these teams. A lot of that gold is sitting on the likes of xMatty, who has been farming up a storm versus a Chu. Chu should be able to kind of equalize out some of the CS deficit as he makes his way over, but Dan's already started out the Rift Herald in the fire. He's just looking for a dive onto X-Maddie. X-Maddie's going to have to use the Graviton to buy some time, and Soft actually gets interrupted. The Chu does not have his ultimate available to him yet, and Pride closing in that gap for Fnatic. Doing a really, really good job here as the Moonlight Vigil actually comes down. Soft looks to jump away. The Graviton secures a double kill. Fnatic, they can just go back to the Herald.
Finding some momentum here. And I think a bit of an overzealous play from MnM to go for that when they don't have the TP to match. So I'm just going to put down some pressure mid, but ultimately, you're not going to kill MagiFelix in this situation.
Doing a really good job of it, though.
Finding some momentum here.
Dan's going to be able to pick up this Rift Herald as well, so the 2 kills they just got onto their AD carry will now just snowball into a Rift Herald. The Chu doing his best to try and hold this lane, but he's flashless. Jumping away from the Moonlight Vigil Graviton from earlier. And Fnatic now looking to assert their pressure. Where do they want to use this Rift Herald?
I think you just buy some time, throw down bot lane, potentially threaten the Dragon. Throw it down there so that someone has to respond so you can get that second one, keep stacking them up. Fnatic up in goal despite everything, despite all the kills that have come out for MnM. There's a pretty big discrepancy. I think the biggest one is 80 carries. You can see 10 CS, not the most, but 2 kills in X-Maddie's pocket. Going to make him extremely strong. We do not see the Leandries from the Mordekaiser. And an area where MnM will be favored again is in the 1-3-1. They can set that up pretty well to have favorable matchups. Because in a longer lane, the Ornn against the Mordekaiser, we can see is what's coming up now. On the top side of the map, Mummus is completely fine with that one and will win out. And then again, Chimera and Pride usually can just clear waves. But if they do match up, Chimera's fine with that into the later stages of the game.
Just be a little careful of the Dan and Bravado combo. Constantly moving around within the darkness away from MnM, and they do have that Rift Herald available to them. So Chimera, he's going to be okay at clearing waves in a normal circumstances, but Pride getting the bullet time channeled onto him. Teleport's going to come back down and actually burning that from MagiFelix. He's going to throw out the Call of the Forge God. Not going to find himself the knock-up, and the heal speed is just enough for Chu to get away.
It's the Misfortune passive movement speed as well, and they chunk out Pride pretty heavily, but he will heal up with the oranges. Ultimately, a lot of ult burn in this situation. A reset coming in from Soft. They do spot out Dan and Bravado moving to the jungle, threatening this tower, and they have the Herald, so I think they can just look for this. There's no one in position to respond.
It looks like it might just be a little trade of a few plates here and there for MnM, but Rift Herald's been summoned down on that bot side, and should just be all the gold given over to X-Maddie as well, giving him as much space, as much time to get into this game as possible. He's got his Essence Reaver, he's 2-0, he's picking up plates like nobody's business. And now Fias has to use the stopwatches. He gets himself caught out by Bravado and Dan. Big misplay there.
Yeah, couple of misplays coming in from MnM there. Obviously, the reset time is a little bit awkward, giving over a lot of pressure to Fnatic. They get the tower, all that gold in X-Maddie's pocket means he's super strong. I mean, look at the item difference between 80 carries right now. It's a Coalfield to Essence Reaver BF. That is
Chu has the cull as well.
Yeah, I'm sure he's happy about that one. So Fnatic really pulling ahead right now, and they're going to sneak this dragon and get away with it.
Yeah, they are. Doesn't look like Fnatic are even going to bother trying to answer over anything there.
It's not the biggest deal. Mountain, if there's going to be any dragon when there's so much frontline in this game, Mountain does make it pretty interesting.
Mummus actually looks to find himself a little something onto Dan. Chimera comes forward, throws out the Petrifying Gaze. Pride can take a lot of damage. Dan, remember, is inside that Death Realm, so he's just taking so much burn damage. Soft even comes in to steal the kill.
Yeah, you don't win that up against the Mordekaiser. Great at dealing with tanks. They just don't have the damage to cut through him, and he shreds them down, especially with that Leandries available. Now, I feel like for me, the armor stacking and also the flat shield available from the Mountain Soul spikes really hard at a point, but then does start to fall off. And I feel like that matches up with Fnatic. If they can get that one, they will feel unstoppable for a while.
Chimera's doing so much damage. It looks like a Fias is actually looking for a dive bot lane here. Pride is going very, very low. Chimera's tanking the tower for as long as possible. Now Pride needs to make his way away from that. Does hold his life, so good job by him to not die there.
Didn't have any wave to dive with, so in the end, he does end up surviving. But yeah, Chu died a little bit ago. Essentially caught out by Matty and Bravado. This really, I think, is it. I think this is the big thing that's going to turn the game in Fnatic's favor, is this discrepancy between AD carries. I think on the rest of the map, MnM's holding up well, but xMatty versus Chu right now is just such a massive gap right now. It's difficult to see them finding their way back into it.
And remember, MnM first picked this misfortune as well. They picked this into xMatty. You can see the gold on your screens right now. 3,300, sorry, 2,300 separates both of these teams. Sorry, both of these AD
I just find it funny how like xMatty's massively up in items and he has a BF sword in terms of gold in his pocket. That's not good overall, not optimal.
Oh, Moonlight Vigil gonna get the Gravitum into the stun, just narrowly missing out. Chu able to flash away from that one, but he's now flashless. Means that same player is potentially there available to MnM if they need to. Oh, did Chu get a BF sword at least on his base? No.
So
he got a crit cloak and a long sword.
That's so tragic. That you can just take a picture right now and be like, that's AD difference right now. Even though, I mean, to be fair, Mai hasn't really done much himself. It's been a setup from the team to facilitate this Aphelios, who will be the big primary carry. In terms of DPS in the later game team fights, he is going to be a critical member.
Well, that's what they're going for the dive here. Chu throws out that bullet time onto xMatty. He's getting minced through, but he's using himself the ulti from Bravado to make sure nobody here is going to die. The Cosmic Radiance doing a lot of work. The Call of the Forward's got to follow up. xMatty is able to sliver his way out as Dan is burning down to the Ignite, but they don't find it. The Cell Division's been used. Mummus has found Magic Felix inside the Death Realm, and Fnatic are stacking on top. So the moment he comes out, it's a double kill for Pride. Fnatic find 2.
Just a little bit botched. Did manage to finish off Dan. The Cosmic Radiance bought a lot of time. Although MnM disengaged, they couldn't really find their footing. A Chu's ultimate doing such a small amount of damage compared to everything Matty puts out. Pressure's still going in.
Matty almost finding something onto Aphias as well there. Solid play across the board in from Fnatic, and this is kind of what the things we were hitting on in the pre-game is Fnatic versus teams that are kind of lower in the standings than them are looking very one-sided. Those games are just so one-sided, but versus a team, you know, like Barrage, like XL, it's kind of the other way around. They kind of getting stomped, kind of getting manhandled, but Fnatic really are clearly stronger than the rest of the pack. And they're really proving it here this game. But MnM did a good job to match them in a lot of these earlier trades, but with the fact that they've just poured so many resources into xMatty, and they continue to do so, the Essence Reaver finally gets finished up for a Chu, while xMatty finishes his Infinity Edge.
Yeah, it's still rough, still extremely rough. And as we head into that mid game, Magi Felix, when he hits that own item upgrades at level 12, it's going to be really difficult to kill him. And the good thing is that they have Mummus and Chimera on this Mordekaiser and Cassiopeia, and these are 2 tank shredders, so that is an avenue of sort of redemption for the team, but it's really going to be rough. I think they need to stall out for time. I don't think they need to contest this dragon. I feel like they can potentially look for a play when Bravado's ult is down. But for the most part, it's just not giving Fnatic too much until they feel like they're in the strong position to fight. Because, I mean, a Chu double ups there and doesn't even break the shield on xMatty.
Yeah, it's really, really rough for him. Soft actually looking to start this up, but they throw down another pink ward to make sure they can comfortably get this. Claw goes down, teleport comes out. Fnatic, they're looking to fight here. The bullet time's coming down. Bravado still doesn't have his ultimate, so this could be very big. xMatty turns it around, finds himself a double kill, and holds his life. He's being chased down towards the dragon on the other side of the map as Pride is trying to run something through Chimera. xMatty finds a triple kill on Aphelios, and Chimera will fall. It's the ace for Fnatic Rising.
Huge plays coming out from Fnatic there. They didn't have the Cosmic Radiance, but they did not need it. xMatty just surviving that one. He gets the triple. His Aphelios is huge, and the game looks prime for the taking for Fnatic Rising. They'll throw the Herald down mid, get that tower, and get the dragon to boot. And potentially even go for a second here, but they're going to play respectful, going to back away.
Well, Fnatic, they're also going to get their hands onto this Mountain Drake. Got the tower. 6-0-2 for xMatty. He goes to base, buys himself another BF sword. A Chu cannot match. He has a Executioner's Calling, and AD carry gap is just way too much at this point. I don't know what MnM can do to pull this back.
I'm going to bring it back a little bit to that last fight. And you saw the dive come in from Soft and Ephias. And these were two under-leveled tanks. They were both down a level compared to xMatty. And they didn't really have any damage between them. And they jumped onto him, and they were close to taking him out. I'll give them that. But they were unable to find it, and the turnaround was massive. And I think the critical thing is that they were forced to put so much pressure on xMatty there. But xMatty is just far and ahead, so fed right now, that was never really a reasonable option. And I think you have to ask yourself, did MnM need to take that fight? And I think the answer very much was no.
They fought because Bravado's ultimate down. That was their opportunity to take that fight. But even without it, xMatty stands in the middle of the enemy team, murders them all, gets a triple kill, and is able to just make his way out. And it looks like Fnatic, they're just pinging Baron for its spawn here.
I think the big thing was it was only the tanks on top. There was no real damage coming through. You could see it was very slow burn to take out xMatty, and that gave him the opportunity to turn it around. Credit to him finding that opportunity, but I think even with the Cosmic Radiance down, you were 3k down in gold. You're at this point where the discrepancy between AD carries is huge. I just think MnM didn't need to take that fight. Second Dragon, not that important. And now they're super far behind, and Mummus might be caught.
Yeah, he actually pulls Dan into the death realm. Now, Dan maybe biting off a little bit more than he can chew here. Does have the ultimate. He's just trying to buy some time for the rest of his team to come through as Magic Felix throws out the call of the Forge God. xMatty, long range downtown. Graviton will secure himself a 1-for-1 trade, and xMatty's a little low here as Chimera jumps in forward. xMatty instantly flashes out, and in comes Pride. A double kill for xMatty once again, as now Mummus, he's getting knocked up. They're looking to find more here. Throws out the claw to disengage as one more Q comes down from Magic Felix, and Fnatic find himself 3 in response. They lose their jungler, but they get free of MnM, and now they're on to Baron.
Yeah, and even without the jungler, Dan's going to respawn and head over. They can shred through this one with the Crescendum available. Matty's doing so much damage. And at this point, this is where Fnatic, their tanks are feeling unkillable. They have Magic Felix with the ornaments coming in. He's going to be able to give an upgraded Molten Edge to xMatty. They have the Cosmic Radiance, which is just so hard to deal with this early in the game.
xMatty's about to get a Bloodthirster as well.
This game just feels very out of control for MnM. 9,000 the goal difference. And the thing is, it started well. The early game looked okay, in all honesty. Just some bad fights. Some bad fights they didn't need to take. That backfired. And Fnatic capitalized. And they do that. And I think that's a difference between teams like Barrage and XL, is that the fights they take, there's a lot more... Oh, fight coming in.
It's 1 versus 2. He's pretty low here. Well, pretty tanky, but it's going to get cut through fairly quickly as Fnatic actually teleporting members in. Magic Felix holds his life. Dan now looking to close in as well. Pride in the middle of the team, just buying some space for his team as Magic Felix throws down that call of the Forge God. Chu gets himself caught out. Bravado looks for himself for a dazzle, but can't find himself the stun. Pride goes golden as Chimera is coming him down, but in comes Matty, throwing out the Moonlight Vigil. Soft is running away as Chimera has to slither out as well. Fnatic somehow do not lose a single member, and now they're looking to run MnM down. Ephias is able to clear the wall, but he's got Dan on his case, and Dan's got that permafrost stacking up. Another blast cone will be coming up fairly soon as Dan uses the ultimate to secure the kill. And Fnatic still got Baron, still taking out 2 members. Sorry, 1 member. They're looking to get themselves into the turrets.
Wasn't a complete stomp, but Fnatic don't overstep in that situation. They don't really get punished for anything. They did have to burn TPs to react to Magic Felix positioning, but for the most part, they're like still in control, still up in gold. And Mummus, he's potentially looking for a flank, but there was a ward you walked over.
Yeah, he pulls the hammer down, but the dazzle's big, the bullet time's wide. Mummus pulls Dan into that death realm, and Dan just flashes the wall to put some distance between him. You see Fnatic closing in, but all of the CC is too much, and Fnatic find another one. xMatty 9-0 on the Aphelios right now. Monster on this champion. Pride's pushing up in the top lane. They are looking to jump onto him here with the elastic slingshot by Soft, but Pride buys a bit of space, puts out the barrel.
Big crit coming out on a Pride. Yeah, ultimately, MnM so far behind right now. It's really going to take a miracle. They just need to stall. They need to get through the last of this Baron buff without losing this inhibitor tower. And that's really the avenue back in the game. But the game's coming in.
Bravado flashes forward, uses the Cosmic Radiance to buy some time, buy some space for his team. Soft gets interrupted, and Xmatty is legendary as he picks up his 10th kill. He's still pretty low though, has some life still to work with. The turret will fall, and so will Soft. Gonna lose his cell division for now, and Xmatty will just cut through that like it is nothing. Xmatty gets himself 11 kills, and MnM now trying to put some space between him and the rest of Fnatic. Gonna miss out on the snipe there from Xmatty. He has got that Graviton now, so a bit of CC to additionally work with, and he's just healing back up with all that life steal he's got available.
They're just looking
They're
in.
just teleporting in. Fnatic just looking to close this game out nice and fast here. Achu is alive, does have his ultimate available in a few seconds, so this has to be the do or die moment for MnM, but they've already lost the tower, they've already lost their top laner, the bullet time's channeling, but the barrels just crit through everything Achu can do. They throw out the soil for the moment coming down from Chimera, but Aphias is just getting chunked down, and Xmatty taking the health bars down like they are nothing. Fnatic are onto the Nexus in under 25 minutes. MnM doing everything in their power to stop this from happening. A pillar to slow. They're buying that space, but Fnatic, they're not willing to give up the game quite here. The miasma's slowing Xmatty's ascent forwards, but he finds himself his 12th kill. Soft is getting slowed up. Xmatty finds himself a double kill now in return as he's looking to crit through a Chew. Can't quite get himself anything else as the Nexus will fall. 25 minutes on the clock, and Fnatic annihilate MnM.
And it goes back to Fnatic looking so much better than the weaker teams in the league, just dominating them pretty thoroughly. But it's still, we need to see them have this sort of performance up against Barrage or XL.
Yes.
And I think that's the real question mark, because this game, by all means, MnM challenged them in the early game, but it wasn't enough. They started to take some bad fights in the mid game, and from then on out, it feels like Fnatic Rising just take control of the game. Now, the difference between facing up against the likes of MnM and the likes of Barrage and XL is XL, they crush the early game and then they maintain the pressure, and the fights they take, they set them up to have numbers advantage or have a favorable position. And it felt like in this one, although MnM were challenging for kills, the objectives were going in favor of Fnatic. And once they stacked Xmatty up, MnM just weren't willing to wait that out. I feel like you can't go into a mid-game fight when there's that much of discrepancy between your carries. And you saw it pan out as we expected.
Unfortunately, there's not really much more to add to that game. It was a very one-sided affair by Fnatic. And like you said, we need to see this kind of performance against XL, against Barrage, for them to kind of prove their strength. Because remember, they are the defending champions of the UKLC. And yeah, they won a very one-sided game there versus MnM, but I want to see how they fare up versus this Envision on the rise, versus Barrage, who've just been crushing the spring split here in 2020 so far. And Fnatic, their next game is versus Enclave tomorrow. So another game which we expect going into it to be fairly one-sided. Enclave unable to pick up a single win so far here in the round robin.
Yeah.
They do have a game later today versus Barrage, so maybe they can make something happen. And I mean, if Enclave beat out Barrage, then Enclave could beat out Fnatic. So, I mean, we'll have to see how that game's going to go.
I won't hold my breath, but we'll see.
We will see. Anyway, we're going to cut to a quick break, and when we're back, it will be Phelan taking on BTXL. So don't go anywhere. See you in a second.